All right, we're continuing conversation with Mike Benz, the executive director of the Foundation for Freedom Online. Mike, okay, so the question I posed to you was, we're 24 hours plus out from the assassination. No sign. They have someone, they have a person of interest that they may be talking to, but how does a guy get away from this amount of people, these amount of phones and cell phones? Does it not feel to you like there was more people than one shooter involved in this?
I don't know. I don't know. The range of possibility is very wide. I hesitate to express exactly what my inclinations are in a moment like this, because there's so little information in terms of, we know it was a rooftop shooter. We know it was essentially a one-shot sniper, dead on.
Mike, let me do this. And I know, everyone's going to pull a soundbite if Mike says something or Eric says something that ends up being wrong later. Listen, Wall Street Journal, Drudge reporting ammunition engraved with trans anti-fascist ideology. It's not us. It's not Mike or Eric or Rav. It's on Drudge right now, and I saw Wall Street Journal saying that one of the shell casings, I think, was what they found with an engravement on it. Now, if true, changes the dynamic a little, doesn't it?
Certainly, if that bears out to be true. I just know that there have been a few things that have been walked back in the past 24 hours, and so I'm trying. Frankly, Eric, I'm filled with enough rage right now that I want to make sure it's directed at the proper targets. I feel the impulse in me, as I think probably millions do, that as soon as we find this monster, I want him strung up. I want crows to eat his insides out. I want it to be publicly televised after a guilty verdict, due process, and administered by the law. But I want the most monstrous, gruesome death that we just had to watch. I want that to be etched into the halls of eternity, so that anyone who tries to do anything like this ever again sees what their own insides look like on national television. And their family will have to see it the way Charlie's has had to see his. I think about whoever did this, if they had to stand in a room with Charlie, and how Charlie would tower over them, how they wouldn't stand a chance in a fist fight or a verbal fight or anything. And a coward, whoever that is, the most unspeakable things have to be administered by our law enforcement.
Brings up the question, Mike. Brings up the question.
So I hesitate. All I'm saying is I hesitate to point it at the responsible group until we know who that is.
Yeah, I agree. However, I'm again, not Mike or Eric reporting or Rav reporting. New York Post right now just came out. A rifle recovered in the hunt for conservative influencer Charlie Kirk's assassin contained ammo engraved with, quote, transgender and anti-fascist ideology, according to preliminary reports from law enforcement sources. I mean,
I just want to make sure that I know, Eric. I just want to make sure that's 100% true before I lean into it, because if that is true,
that's fair.
And I agree. I know I disagree with the editorial line of the Wall Street Journal quite frequently, and I have seen them factually, in my view, misreport things in the past. And given that our own FBI has released 2 suspects on this already, I just want a higher degree of certainty before I commit that is indeed where this is coming from.
We've had the discussion on this show last week and the beginning part of this week. Should transgender people be barred from purchasing firearms, owning firearms in America? And I would stand on the side, especially if this is true. Again, we just saw the same thing happen in Minneapolis, where a couple of young school children were murdered, assassinated, killed while they're praying in church, and the inscriptions on the gunmen's guns and magazines were anti-Trump, kill Donald Trump. And this was a trans guy doing this, right? It's trans dude doing it. But just allow
Eric,
me. Just
I
allow me.
totally understand.
If this is true, if this gun that they found did have those markings and it belonged to the shooter, I will continue to say that there's something going on in the trans community. I'm not saying all gay. I'm saying in the trans community, there's something happening. There's something affecting their ability to ration and reason. And maybe it's the drugs they need to take to try and change their gender. Then they're going to change it, but try and change their gender. And it does push into the area of, yes, if you can be mentally unstable and not be allowed to own a gun, or if you can need a medical marijuana card in some states and not own a gun or have an open carry license, then guess what? I believe that whatever's going on in the trans community, we need to investigate, because there's probably some sort of link there. In my opinion, not Rav's, not Mike's, just Eric's.
Right. And where I am on this is I want to see those engraved casings posted by the FBI X account. I want to see them on fbi.gov. I want to get it firsthand from Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, so that we know that this is actually the truth, rather than getting it secondhand from the Wall Street Journal, whose reportage I've not been particularly impressed by in the past several years. And I just want to make sure that that is 100% true, because obviously the trans community, I think, has been disproportionately celebrating this death. You can go on Blue Sky and just see post after post of he, her, them, they, celebrating this in the most monstrous way possible. You've seen calls from radical members of those communities calling for Charlie's death long before this. I keep a pretty close nose to the grindstone on these left-wing commentary communities online. I think it's important for folks on the conservative side to read what folks with opposing views say to each other, especially when they don't think you're listening. And Charlie was disproportionately a target, almost more than anyone else I can think of, for many, many months and years before this, even though he was arguably the most moderate of all of the large right-wing MAGA voices. But certainly the trans community, and many other aspects of the cultural, so-called progressive, far left, much more far left
Mike,
side.
You're a very smart guy. A lot of people listening to you, they take your word. They need to process this. All the heightened rhetoric. I did a whole monologue with probably 10 different sound bites of progressive liberals kind of blaming Charlie for his own demise, or calling Trump and any one of his supporters, Charlie being one of his biggest, Hitler and Nazis, and basically planting seeds to grow into what these are, these evil acts of assassinations or assassination attempts in Trump. Is there a tie, in your opinion?
Well, the SPLC drew a target map with it looked like basically a bullet sight on Charlie's Turning Point USA. If you remember this heat map of extremist groups and this sort of moral quandary, if you could go back in time and kill baby Hitler, has been very normalized. This idea that if it would change the trajectory of history, it's actually okay to engage in first-degree premeditated, cold-blooded homicide. And I think
interesting
anyone
you say that, because I often think of this in the last 24 hours, change the course of history. And I think it was you that mentioned Charlie
Kirk was going to be our president.
He could have been a president. He could have been.
There you go. There's no way. The boy was 31 years old, and he already was the key matchmaker, power broker, fundraiser, institution builder. There is no way Charlie Kirk would not have been a president of the United States at some point in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. He was chosen for that. He spent his whole life in this. He was the perfect person for this. He was the bridge between every element of the MAGA movement. And they shot that bridge in the crux of his neck in broad daylight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mike Benz, changed the course of history. Thought about it all morning long. Did they? They may have, and you're passionate about that. Mike, good having you. I appreciate your time. We'll stay on it. We'll bring you back as things warrant. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Eric. Be safe.
All right, you too, Mike. 2.5 minutes, folks. We'll be back.
As you know, we are heading on campus here momentarily at the University of South Florida, throwing it down with the students. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are excited to continue this cultural movement that we have started at Turning Point USA. More high school chapters, more college chapters, and disagreement is not just welcome, it is invited. We want to have those tough conversations. That's what it's all about. Every day, the American people demand certain accomplishments and victories. Disagreement is what keeps a movement alive, keeps a movement fun. Here in this country, we are a country of flourishing. We're a country of risk-taking. We're a country of building. We will achieve American greatness, and we are just getting started.